The question then is, what is India up against? Tonight, let's talk about the Chinese army in particular. Is it a force to reckon with, or is it a paper dragon? Let me give you some quick facts. The Chinese army fights to preserve a party, not a country. It is a party's army. The army has almost no combat experience. The last war they fought was in 1979 and lost. The army has only been used to suppress dissent. It has only been tested against protesters at home, most of whom don't have weapons. The army has been used for choreographed videos like the one you just saw. This is the People's Liberation Army of China, an armed wing of the Chinese Communist Party. It is said to win contests without fighting a war. It is said to psychologically subdue the enemy without using force. Tonight, we are bringing you a SWOT analysis of the Chinese army: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Let's start with the strengths. Number one, the operational structure. The PLA has undergone several changes. It has been reorganized a lot of times. Most recently, the 7 military regions in China were reorganized into 5 theater commands: North, South, East, West, and Middle Combat Command Zones. This helps the PLA achieve specific mission objectives without delay and lapses. Along with command zones is a significant teeth-to-tail ratio, which means the strength of forces or manpower matches the resources dedicated to a particular mission. And this enhances China's warfare capabilities. Strength number 2, technological prowess. You can't deny them that. China meets the demands of 21st century warfare. The PLA is equipped with modern-day weapons. Its medium-range ballistic missiles, for instance, can be used in high-intensity operations. They can target the adversary's facilities, communication links, logistical nodes, military sites. But weapons alone do not win a war. Let's talk about the weaknesses, and there are far too many. Number 1, the party-military relationship. The PLA, as I said, is an armed wing of the CCP. It serves a political purpose. Its troops are fighting to preserve a system that benefits Communist Party members and not the Chinese people. For the CCP leadership, this is a strength, but for the army, this is an inherent weakness. It affects the morale of the troops. Weakness number 2, civil-military relations. Since the PLA is not an element of the state, it has no official points of contact with state bodies or state leaders. There's a gap that leads to problems in coordinating PLA activities internally. It also leads to a general distrust with the common man. The third weakness, human capital. China has a conscription system, mandatory military service, but they've not had to use it extensively because there's a large pool of applications. Chinese soldiers get social benefits, so young people, especially from rural areas, apply in large numbers. They're often uneducated. They do not meet the physical or mental health standards. At times, they're insufficient in handling advanced technologies. And the last weakness is something that China cannot fix. The People's Liberation Army has almost no combat experience. The last time they fought a major conflict was in 1979. A seasoned Vietnamese military demolished a bungled Chinese invasion. Reports say the Chinese infantrymen were unable to navigate or read maps. They were not able to measure and calculate firing distances. There is data to back this claim. They were routed. Here's another story that you must know. This is from 2016. Chinese troops were part of a peacekeeping mission in Sudan. They're said to have abandoned their posts rather than engage in fighting. They reportedly left behind even their weapons and ammo. Guess who came to their rescue? Indian troops. The Indian soldiers secured the perimeter and ensured the armed militants were weeded out. Wonder if the Global Times will post these stories of how quickly the Chinese troops can relocate. Let's talk about opportunities now. There seems to be only one at the moment. The PLA's role in global affairs, its evolving participation in UN peacekeeping missions, for example. China has been developing forces for overseas operations. If the PLA wants, it can contribute in maintaining peace and stability miles away. It can safeguard the freedom of maritime commerce. But why would it? China loves encroaching on fisheries and claiming disputed territories. And finally, the threats. It's spreading itself far too thin. The Chinese army remains riddled by corruption despite Xi Jinping's many purges. The Chinese army is involved in commercial activities and there is no proper oversight. A corrupt army is its own biggest enemy. Plus, they have the United States, a major adversary. Beijing's relations with Washington are worsening. U.S. warships and bombers have been hovering near Taiwan and the South China Sea. A real war looks unlikely, but this year has shown us that many unlikely things happen almost without warning. China should know this and not cross certain lines.